Hey, good afternoon. On Friday, this is Dr. Ashish with our live show every Friday. We have missed a couple of Fridays just because of busyness in the clinic and everything, but it's so wonderful to be here with our expert guest every Friday. And today we have Lauren, and we are going to talk about nutrition, food, Ayurvedic foods, and everything else that is happening with our foods and nutrition. So please join, say hello if you are interested in natural ways of eating, healthy ways of eating, as well as natural health. And if you listen to it on live, then do leave us a comment or any question, and we'll get back to that in time. So welcome, Lauren.
Thank you. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's fantastic. Thank you. And I just get excited with, when I'm speaking to like-minded people because it's like sometimes you speak to some other people and you are on a totally different planet. So
Yeah.
it will be good to talk to you. So tell me, Lauren, what do you do and how do you support in terms of health?
Thank you. Yes, so I'm a nutritional therapist, a registered nutritional therapist. So the work that I do is very much all about using the functional medicine model, which essentially looks at the body as a whole. So all of our systems are interconnected rather than looking at, the cardiovascular system on its own or the hormone system on its own. So it's really looking at that bigger picture, understanding what imbalances might be going on within the body, and then using tools like diet, nutrition, supplements, lifestyle changes, bringing all of that together to bring balance to the body and support symptoms and that sort of thing. So predominantly I work with female health. So probably sort of predominantly women in their 40s and 50s, but also women in their 30s and post-menopause. So very much looking at that sort of full life cycle really of female health, and with a special interest in hormone health. Hormones really are such a big deal for us. We're
For
so
women.
sensitive to the changes. Yeah. So I think it's so important that women understand what is going on in their bodies on a monthly basis and helping them to overcome some of the challenges and difficult symptoms that can come along with those changes in their bodies. So that is very much what we do. So we use a lot of functional testing in our clinic and a lot of nutritional interventions really to get women feeling their best again.
Yeah, that's great. And where is your interest? How are you interested in hormonal medicine? How are you interested in this particular area and helping this way? What is the background story here?
Yeah, well, it's quite a long one, really, from long ago. So, as a teenager, I struggled hugely with really bad acne. So my skin was really really poor. I went along to a dermatologist who put me on birth control pill to try and regulate that because it was very much hormonally driven acne.
Yeah.
But it never really resolved the problem for me. I think it was sort of a bit of a plaster, a band-aid sort of situation. So in my 20s, I went and got some further testing and investigations done, and I was diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome,
Okay.
which is quite a prevalent condition for women. And that I think was very much a driving force behind my acne, but also some sort of other hormonally driven symptoms that I was experiencing.
Yeah.
And so for me, I was really interested in finding a way other than being on birth control to naturally manage my symptoms and get my body back into balance. So I just started doing a lot of research of my own. I started looking more into food as medicine and just really wanted to see if I could support my own body. And I've just found it to be incredibly beneficial and helpful. And I saw a massive change in not only my skin health, but just generally how I was feeling. And yeah, that sort of prompted my desire to go on and study more about this in a more formal way. So I left my kind of corporate career, went and, well, was still studying at the same time actually, so that was pretty hardcore. But yeah, I did a 4-year qualification to become a nutritional therapist, and that was very much the driving force for me. And I just wanted to pass on the knowledge that I'd gained and help other women who were struggling with their hormones. So that's sort of what led me to this path and to working now with female health in clinic.
Yeah, yeah. PCOS is a big thing. It's just everywhere, because I also see a lot of course, being from Indian background, I see a lot of women in India who are suffering, and younger girls. Acne is very prominent,
Yeah.
and it is rather, I would say, there is kind of an endemic. We don't even realize sometimes up until later, because it takes so long to get proper diagnosis, especially via
Mm-hmm.
doctors, because initially they don't do enough tests.
Mm-hmm.
Initially it's like, take the pill like you were given,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we know what happens with the pill. So um, it is just heartbreaking to see that something which we probably could even treat and cure, if it is actually get, if girls get help in very early stages with nutrition, with their diet, with other herbal medicines, we can
Mm-hmm.
almost even reverse it. But it is
Yeah.
just by the time they get to people like you and I is in their 30s, when they're trying to get pregnant,
Yeah.
or something else is happening. And yeah, it's just, I find it, yeah, it is just depressing to see that, younger girls, or and you can clearly see the signs, but doctors never. I don't know why doctors don't Google. All the patients are Googling everything, and they're doing their own research like you did,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
doctors.
I agree. I think there's I think perhaps there isn't enough knowledge or understanding around the fact that there could be so many different root causes to, well, PCOS in particular, but other hormonally driven issues. And I think there's so many other factors now as well. When I was a teenager, things were quite different. Now, I think especially teenage girls are under so much more pressure. There's so much more stress, and all of these things are having that knock-on impact, and I think making things worse. And it's those sorts of underlying things that we can really get to grips with to help them, so that they don't have these issues later on with fertility and all the sort of self-confidence. I think the self-confidence thing is a big one with PCOS from my experience in clinic. And that mental health aspect, I think, that absolutely should be more addressed. And I think we need to take a more holistic view when we're dealing with these sorts of conditions.
Yeah, yeah. So what kind of things you see in terms of, you talked about, yes, I think with skin, because it is so visible,
Mhm.
especially anything that is happening to anybody's face, it is so visible, whether it's eczema, whether it's
Mhm.
acne, and other skin conditions, and how it knocks your confidence is just
Mhm.
crazy. And I know this from my personal experience with my late husband, who had eczema as a
Mm.
kid, and full blown eczema on face
Oh,
and neck and everywhere. And you can imagine, what it did. I mean, rest of the body skin is great. And by the time I met him, he was out of
mm.
that phase,
Mm.
but what it did to his confidence. And I always know this, and I feel this kind of firsthand, because
Mhm.
I never knew about skin issues. Personally, I never had them, and I never knew until I met him. And
Mhm.
that's when I got more and more into it.
Yes.
Um, so tell us about the kind of patients you might see, where they have this kind of issue. And also, we just had Mental Health Awareness Week last week, as well as mental health is every day's topic. It's not that it's only one week. So
Mhm.
what kind of patients you see? What do they say?
Mm. Yeah, I think so. We see a very wide range of different kinds of women in clinic. So younger women, so maybe those in their 30s. I think often we're seeing issues like polycystic ovarian syndrome, endometriosis, and those sorts of conditions are definitely having an impact on daily life. So the sort of visual aspect of that, which is then leading to loss of confidence. I've spoken to some women who won't leave the house because they're too embarrassed to step outside, and that anxiety is through the roof for them, and it's leading to conditions like depression, general low mood. So we see that quite a lot with some of our clients.
Yeah.
And then as women are heading into perimenopause, then we're seeing a different range of symptoms and difficulties. So I think some of the most common things that we hear about are things like low energy and low mood. I think those are two really, really big ones that we're seeing. I would say 90% of the women that we speak to have got some level of stress, or they have a high life load. I quite like that term because I think we don't always associate sort of
What's
some of
that?
the
What's the word?
a high life load,
Okay.
so yeah, because some people, they might love their job but not realize that actually that is a source of stress,
Yeah.
so I think that's a sort of nice way to sort of think about it. So stress is a major thing that we're seeing now in clinic, and I think I think we're also seeing a lot more things like insulin resistance, a lot more difficulty with weight gain across
Yeah.
the spectrum of ages. I think that's also becoming more of a problem. And I think we're seeing more sort of talk about this, I think, in the general medical world at the moment as well. I think those are probably some of the big things that we're seeing in clinic.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see younger girls as well?
Not generally. So we do have we have seen some clients sort of in their 20s, but I would say predominantly our clientele are probably in their sort of 40s and 50s. That's very much sort of that perimenopausal stage. That is really where that's where our expertise lies predominantly, and that's what we're very skilled in being able to support.
Right. And you were mentioning earlier, so how does this work in your clinic? And you were saying that your clinic is online mainly. So how does this work?
Yeah, so a lot of what we do in clinic with 99% of our clients, we are doing functional testing because
Mhm.
that helps us to very quickly identify the root cause of symptoms. So there's an amazing test called the Dutch test. I'm sure you've probably heard of it. It's an incredible test that basically shows you what your different hormone levels are doing, but also how your body is metabolizing those hormones,
Mhm.
and what where those imbalances may be lying. So we're experts in understanding those sorts of tests, understanding what our stress hormone levels are doing. We also do comprehensive blood testing because we're always wanting to understand if there are nutrient deficiencies underlying these imbalances in the body. And we want to look at things like thyroid function, which plays a massive role in not only sex hormone health, but obviously health in general. And then we also do microbiome testing because we are seeing quite a lot of digestive issues now coming more to the forefront. And we know that the microbiome interacts a lot with hormones and estrogen metabolism and that sort of thing. So we want to understand if that's a block for someone that's preventing their hormone balance. So we're experts in these tests. We use these tests along with a very detailed case history to understand what parts of the body might be out of balance. And then we will work with the client over a period of time to implement changes with things like their diet, looking at bringing in the right types of foods to support their health, get their bodies into balance. We talk a lot about lifestyle because we absolutely need to be addressing things like stress, sleep, movement, getting the right type of exercise.
Yeah.
And we create personalized protocols, which we will then help to implement in a very step-by-step way so that it is achievable. Ultimately our goal is to get our clients feeling back into balance, feeling good, but also that they can walk away and be able to maintain those changes, because I think that is so, so key. It's not about a crash diet. It's not about making these enormous changes. It's about making small, impactful changes over
Yeah.
a period of time
Yeah.
that will be long lasting. And that's, I think, where the power comes in. So, and we deliver all of our sessions online. So like a video chat, which is super convenient.
Yeah.
And our testing can all be done at home as well, which is amazing. So yeah, technology has definitely helped, I think, us be able to reach people all over the world that need help. So yeah, we're very grateful for that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And also, what is the kind of typical time patients are with you? 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. Also, that what would you like them to be ideally with you? How long would you like? Because I know that patients, they don't always listen, and then they only take a month and then go away. So, what is your typically what they are with you, but how long would you like them to be with you?
Mm. Yeah, I think I would say on average, our clients are with us for about 3 to 6 months in general, as a sort of as a really good starting point. And I think that's a good amount of time to be able to get things back into balance, to work on gut health, hormone health. I think anything hormone related, you have to give it at least 3 months because of the
Yeah,
way that our cycles work. So that would be sort of a minimum time with us.
yeah,
But I don't think there necessarily is an end point in when you would stop working with someone. I've worked with some clients for years because we are working with them through their different life stages. We're working with them for accountability, to give them that point of contact where we can troubleshoot. If they're going into a busy life stage, we can work out ways to make their plan more practical. We can figure out ways to make it more doable for them. So I think having that sort of person to coach you once you've got to that point, and keep coaching you to keep you on track, and that I think is super powerful for long term results. So yeah, a bit of a long answer maybe to a short question, but I hope that gives some clarification.
no, no, that's totally fine. It is 3 to 6 months is what ideally how I say it as well. So you need
Right.
that much time to change habits, then to
Mhm.
stick to those habits, then to also see the impact of those habits, that new changes that you're making. And also, if they are then taking any kind of supplements, do you offer supplements and that support as well?
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's I think especially if we identify a nutrient deficiency, for example, we would definitely want to bring supplements in. There's some amazing adaptogenic herbs which I'm sure ashwagandha is probably one of my all-time favorites.
Everybody needs ashwagandha.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone, benefits from that. So yes, I think that can be a very, very important part of the picture for a lot of people, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess, people come and they take maybe coaching with you for some time, 3 to 6 months, and then carry on taking maybe whatever supplements or herbs you're offering. They just carry on with that, right? Because that's what I see. Because
Mm.
it is easier to take, of course, easier to take supplements. You take capsule, you take tablets, it is, and they can carry on doing that. So is that the case with your clinic as well, or?
Not always. So it really depends on what we've identified with a client. So let's
Mm,
take, for example, let's say we found someone is very low in iron. We would probably put them onto an iron supplement,
yeah.
almost straight away, so we can get those levels up really quickly. But while they're doing that, we're working on their diet. So we're working on bringing more iron rich foods in. We're making that more of a habit so
Mm,
that goal would then be to, usually after about 3 months, we might retest iron levels to see where they're at.
Yeah.
And then we would make a call. Do we bring the iron supplement maybe to a lower dose? Or maybe we can take it out, and because they're getting enough iron-rich foods in their diet. So I think for me, a supplement plan shouldn't be static. I think we need to use them, very carefully and in a very targeted way, so that we can address those imbalances. But it's got to go along with foundations like a good diet and lifestyle choices. And then I think some people probably would benefit from long-term supplement plans. I'm a big believer in things like magnesium and vitamin C, fish oils. I think those sorts of nutrients are always going to be powerful and helpful.
Yeah.
So I think in some instances, a long-term supplement plan is a good idea.
Yeah, because one of the things that I find is people are using all these medications and herbs, even, just self-prescribing. So they are not really going to a clinic like yours or mine and then getting help one-to-one, because health is so subjective. Everybody's health is so different from one person to another. And I always say to everyone, and I'm saying here as well, that everybody should start with a practitioner, because that's where you start, so that you can have proper assessment, your mind and body assessment, your gut assessment, every assessment of every kind. And then whether there are tests involved, which is also a form of diagnostic assessment you're doing, and then getting on to any kind of plan. And as you said, it's not a static plan. It's not like set in stone now for
Yes.
it is only probably set in stone for next 3 to 6 months, and it should be reviewed every 3 to 6 months.
Yes.
And people don't do that generally, and that's where the issue lies, because everybody thinks, because I can go to health food shop and buy magnesium. That is one of my biggest contentions, I think, with people's health, and that is where they don't see the difference, or they have some kind of other effect which we don't want, unwanted effects of, or no effects of supplements, right, if you're not using them rightly.
Yes, I totally agree with you. It's so easy to grab something, off the shelf somewhere, and you've maybe read something and it's, saying this will be great for this, but you're right. You don't know the knock-on effect of that on the other systems in the body or the other nutrients. There's such a delicate balance with different nutrients, mineral statuses, and things like that. So I totally agree. I think speak with a doctor, speak with a healthcare practitioner who would be able to do a proper assessment before starting any supplements. I totally agree. I think that's really important to do.
Yeah. So that is my message to everyone, wherever, whatever
Mine
you
too.
do. You start with yoga, you start with herbs, you start with even herbal teas. I say all the time that if you're taking herbal teas but you are on a lot of medications, then go to a herbalist, because they are the people who specialize in herbal medicine, because every herb that you're taking eventually has an effect on your body. And obviously, you don't want to take something which has got no effect on your body. What would be the point of doing that, right? Just spending money on something which doesn't affect you in any good way. So no, that is, I agree, and that is how natural medicine, or how I work with, especially with gut health, is so crucial. And in natural medicine, we say everything starts with the gut. Ayurvedic medicine says the same. Western herbal medicine says the same. Functional medicine now says the same. So we all talking the same thing. How how difficult or easy it is for you to talk to a patient to convince them, or they come pre-convinced. I know that probably have that kind of mindset. Like I have, most of the patients come to you because they have that kind of mindset. But even then, where do you think is the challenge right now to get through to more people? What is it that they don't understand, according to you?
Do you mean about natural medicine
Yeah,
or?
about nutrition and natural
Mm,
medicine, about herbs or about gut health, or
mm.
yeah, all of it.
Yeah, I think I think for a long time now, I think there's been this sort of idea that we can just pop a pill and that's going to be, the be all and end all, that's going to solve our problems, be that silver bullet to fix us. And I think probably one of the biggest challenges we see in what we do, and you may agree here, is that, well, first of all, that's highly unlikely to be, the case, that you're going to take one pill, one supplement, and it's going to fix you. It doesn't
Yeah,
work like that, sadly. Um, and I think the other thing is that you could have the most perfect diet in the world, perfect in inverted commas, because I don't think there's such a thing, but you know what I mean, eating really well.
yeah,
I think you can eat really, really well, but if you're not managing your emotional, spiritual state, you're not managing your stress, your lifestyle, I think you're going to struggle to really feel well. And I
yeah,
think that is something we find can be quite difficult to convince people on, is that they need to slow down. They need to take proper time out to really unwind and to take care of those things like sleep and moving their bodies more regularly. I think that's something that there's a bit of a disconnect now, because we're in this world where everything's go go go. You're constantly being bombarded by something new you've got to be doing, or you've got to be learning, or and I think I don't think we're quite aware yet of just how much of a detrimental impact that's having on us. I mean, I think we're seeing that a bit, but I think in the long term, I think that's going to be very detrimental to our health. And I think that's something I think we maybe need more convincing on. I don't know if you agree. I don't know if you see that with your patients.
100%. Can you
Mm.
give me a herb to make me pregnant? Can you give me a herb for my egg quality? Can you give me a herb for my husband? Can you give me one pill? And I always say that one single thing is never going to be enough.
Mhm.
Health is holistic. It
Mhm.
it's dependent on so many different factors, and those factors all vary, and they all vary with time and season and lifestyle and the whole. It's like like you have those, I don't know. I want to give an example where you have got so many moving parts, and
Yes.
they're constantly moving with you all the time. So
Yes.
you can't ever be, because it's always in flux. Your health is always ever evolving, right?
Mm.
So you
Yes.
ate something yesterday which didn't probably went well with how your mindset was at that time, how your gut was at that time.
Mhm.
And that is what I find, that message is not, it's not understood as much.
Mhm.
People think that, oh, because they go to doctor, and because
Mm.
that has been the mainstream medical model, you go to doctor, the doctor give you one pill.
Mm.
um, and doctors are also, I think, part of the whole system, sadly. There may be some good doctors as well who are trying to do more holistic stuff, but it is because they have got such little time. It's like, okay, take at least this one thing and then
Mm.
start with that. But patients think that this one thing is going to fix everything, and
Mhm.
that is one of the biggest challenges that I find, and talking to people, that it's holistic. Look at what else happened, right?
Mhm.
With
Yeah.
food, there is so much. I don't know. Do you know anything about Ayurvedic medicine? Have you come across Ayurveda?
Yeah, a bit. I'm no expert. I've been a huge yoga lover for many many years, and I've read yogi scripts and things, so I'm aware. I think there's
Right.
a lot of overlap actually with nutritional therapy. It's all about finding that balance, and but yeah, you're probably way more of an expert than I am on that one.
Yeah, no, that's totally fine. But yes, it is. There is an overlap, and it is,
Mm.
how Ayurvedic medicine talks about, because it is dependent on so many different factors.
Yes.
And that
Yeah.
is where it is important for people to go and find a person like you or I and work with them. And I always say, go to a practitioner and work with them for 3 months, 6 months, learn about your health to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
And then there should be every 6 months, like you go to your, you have MOT every year. At
Mm-hmm.
least you need to have that once a year. You go have all your eyes checked, like, you have your eyes checked, you have your hormones
Yeah.
checked, you have your, so that's how it should be.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I totally agree, and natural medicine believes in that. Natural medicine has always been proponent of, holistic health, which is dependent on all these factors. But I think when I listen to so much research stuff, different podcasts and scientists and research scientists, everybody is talking about the multifactorial, idea of our health. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that it hasn't come through to the medical model. Doctors are still stuck in that pill mode and take this one thing, and that I feel needs to change,
Mm.
because that's not helping people.
Yeah, I agree. I think, in the medical world, you'll go to maybe a cardiologist, or you'll go to an endocrinologist, but actually there's so much overlap with those systems. They shouldn't necessarily be looked at in isolation like that. I kind of like to think about it like the internal workings of a watch or a clock, with
Mm.
those cogs that are moving like this, and you can actually see that one moves and then that one moves. And I think that's what our bodies are like. So you can move one cog over here, but it's going to have an impact on the cog down here.
Yeah.
And I think that is so important, that we need to be thinking about things in that way. And actually, what I've noticed of late is so many more GPs actually studying nutritional therapy, studying nutritional sciences. And I think that is absolutely amazing. I'm just loving to see that. I think there's definitely more interest. I'm hoping that it's going to really start filtering through into that medical world,
Yeah.
because I think there's so much that we can achieve together if we bring those worlds together.
Yeah.
Um, and really improve patient and client outcomes. I think there's so much potential there, and also, if you think of it from a sort of economic standpoint, how much better is it going to be for the economy if we are focusing on prevention? Let's work together to
Yeah.
actually stop these chronic issues in the long term. I mean, there's just so much benefit for everyone. There's no downside. So yeah, I'm a huge believer in that. And I really am so encouraged to see more doctors actually getting involved, getting interested, doing more training in these areas. I think that's really positive.
Yeah, I think either they should include a module on nutrition in the mainstream medical doctors, training.
Mm-hmm.
Reduce time from other things that they're learning. They're learning so many tests and stuff, which is unnecessary. Because I know when I did my Ayurvedic training, it's very similar to MBBS training. So there is so much stuff that we don't really need that.
Mm-hmm.
Rather, we need nutrition more of. As an
Mm.
Ayurvedic doctor, we learned everything about nutrition, because food is the key to
Yeah.
natural health. Um,
Yes.
but it's either that, or that every GP practice should have a nutritionist, which they
Mm.
don't. You know,
Mm.
they should
Yeah.
have a natural medicine practitioner. They should have nutritionists, because if they are not trained, then they should have other people on their team who
Mm.
can work with this. I mean, I cannot even understand. And like, for you and people like you and I, it's like, how do you talk about health without talking about foods,
Yeah.
without talking about diet and nutrition and nutritional habits? How do you do that? That's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
unthinkable for me.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And again, I think that's that sort of total disconnect, isn't it? Like, we literally are what we eat. What we eat becomes our cells. And I think that's maybe a message that isn't sort of quite out there enough. Um, you know, it's so crucial. I think it is. It's the bedrock really of good health and functioning well as a human. I think it needs more focus. We
Yeah.
need more focus on whole foods, actually almost getting back to more traditional ways of eating, right? Sitting around. I'm from an Italian family, so for us, you sit down at the table, there's lots of food, but you're eating over a few hours and you're chatting and you're digesting slowly and it's fresh food. And, I think we've lost so much of that, which was contributing to that good health. So I totally agree. I think it's what's on our plate is so important, but it's also what's going on around us while we're eating that plate of food. Are we slowing down? Are we distracted? Are we happy, relaxed? All of those little things are going to have an impact as well on how that food is going to sit in the body and make us feel.
Absolutely. Yes. So give me an example of, obviously without naming anyone, but give me an example of a patient which you saw really kind of miraculous result, because you and I see miraculous results daily. It's just even simple little things that change so much for patients. So what kind of things have you seen in your practice?
Yeah. Oh gosh. I think probably one of my most memorable clients, someone I've actually worked with over a long period of time, because we retest her bloods regularly to make for that MOT you were talking about. Yeah. So she when she came to me, she was just struggling to get through her day-to-day life, never mind do anything that brings her joy, or her energy was on the floor, her mood was really low. She was just feeling rubbish. And we, over a period of a few months, we managed to get her not only having the energy to do her daily activities, but she'd picked up running again. She'd started doing a training course on top of her job. She had enough energy to actually go and study further, to get on with her daily life. Her mood lifted massively. She was feeling good. Energy is strong. She's now actually headed into perimenopause, and she's very close to menopause now. And she's barely got any menopausal symptoms. Her brain fog is maybe the odd word she's losing. She gets like maybe one hot flush in 2 weeks, but she's done so well over all these years to get herself to a good point and prep her body for menopause. And now she's hit that life stage, and actually she's coping way better than her friends. She's sort of sailing through. I mean, that for me is like, if I could get every woman to feel like that, to be able to do that, that would be amazing. So, I'm really happy with the work that we've done with her. She had thyroiditis, or Hashimoto's, and we've managed to get her thyroid antibodies down, and her thyroid hormone levels are optimal. So from being out of range, she's now in the optimal range, and she's doing so well, and she's maintaining those levels through good diet and lifestyle. So that for me is the power of what we can do with nutritional therapy, and sticking with it, I think really shows that it's so worth it.
100%. That is so good to see, long-term use of any particular therapy. And I see similar results with my patients, clients. It's when you see the long-term use of something. I see that with my own health as well, personally. I see that with my children's health, and even with my patients, who then took everything on board and changed everything about their diet and nutrition we are talking about, but also lifestyle and every other habit that wasn't serving them at that time, whether it was fertility or then if you do fertility right, and if you do health right afterwards, perimenopause, menopause is going to be looked after, right? If you're doing everything correctly. So that's what I see and I say is that long-term use of taking care of yourself. Health is a continuum. It's not like short term, just now, 1 month, what can I do? How can I improve my egg health? I have got transfer tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that's amazing what you're doing. I think, that education for women, that when they're still in those life stages, you know, that is where the power is. If you can really deal with that, you can get your hormones, working as well as possible,
Yeah,
then it
yeah,
really will mitigate some of those issues that you'll face later on. So, and I think that's we a lot of women don't realize that they can head into perimenopause from like 35 onwards. I
yeah,
think a lot of people think you're hitting menopause in your 50s and that's it, but there's so much going on before that, and we need to be sharing information so we can be equipped and know what to do when the time comes. I think that's really key.
yeah. I think that's what we see even in research. They're talking about Alzheimer's starting 10 years prior. They're talking about
Mhm.
insulin resistance starting years, 5, 6 years prior. Of course, we
Mhm.
know that already, but it is just now science is finding out all of a sudden.
Yes. Yeah.
um, because it takes so many changes, slow cellular changes that keeps happening. And
Mm.
if you are not fixing your lifestyle daily, you're
Mm.
going to see all that effect. And you're right with perimenopause, menopause. It's not like you all of a sudden you're 50 and it's going to happen. You're going to
Mm.
start seeing these changes even before.
Mm.
I mean, I'm personally in that age range, not totally perimenopausal yet, but it is, I don't have any symptom.
Mm.
And that is purely to do with, yes, I'm a practitioner and I know this, but I am also living like that.
Yeah.
And which is the idea to promote to other patients and clients, is
Mm.
that how can you live daily your life in such a way that it becomes therapeutic?
Yeah.
How can you understand about your nutrition?
Mhm.
Nutrition is so different.
Mm.
I've got twins, and even their nutrition completely different from one to the other. So it's let alone two different people
Yes.
on the planet, and to think that, okay, what somebody else can eat, I can also digest, is
Mhm.
that is something very unique to Ayurvedic medicine. And I think functional medicine is also talking about similar things, is where
Yeah.
your gut is so subjective. You have your own biome, you have your own biochemical mixture and cocktail. And
Yeah.
that's why you need to understand which foods are good for you. Only because avocado is good for you, is the nutritionally good, doesn't mean it's good for everybody on the planet.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I mean, yeah, if with twins, I mean, that's such a great example, isn't it, of bio individuality. I think that's so beautifully illustrates that point. And we do quite a bit of genetic testing as well in clinic, and it's so fascinating to be able to see the responses. Like you say, eating an avocado for one person might be a great thing to do, but for someone else, they might be more sensitive to metabolizing fats from an avocado. So there is so much of that bio individuality going on. And I think, again, working with a practitioner who can understand those nuances and work with someone to figure out what is the best thing for you, that is the key. I think following sort of blanket advice is generally not going to be the way to go for most people. We need to look at things more in a more personalized fashion, I think, to really see
yeah.
long-term results.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
think everybody I have spoken to so far, and I think that's just because I am connected to those practitioners who are more into personalized care and all of that. But it is not the worldview.
Mhm.
It's very different out there, where people don't understand about their gut health, or they don't understand that food is what is going to make the quality of the egg. And
Mhm.
if your gut is compromised, then even that food or that supplement that you're eating is not going to go anywhere. It's not going to give you any nutrition, or
Mm.
compromised nutrition, if your gut health is not good. But this
Yes.
is, um, you and I know this, and we think everybody knows this, but they don't. And it's it's so different, because I do a lot of lives and stuff on TikTok, and then I see this proper worldview of, is maca root good for me, maca root good for fertility, or some other medicine, or some other herb, for example. And it is not the case. But
Mm.
that's why we are talking, so that we can
Mm.
educate and talk and share from our experiences as well.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
how does it work in your personal life, your family life, kids, partner? How does it work?
I have no kids, but I do have 3 pets. I have got an incredibly active puppy, Cocker Spaniel puppy, who really keeps us, keeps us entertained.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I do all the cooking at home because I mean that's my thing. I love it, you know. And yeah, I mean, I'm just a total foodie. So for me, to cook a meal is like an absolute relaxing, pleasurable activity. But yeah, but I mean, I'm quite sort of I don't know, I guess quite relaxed in my food, you know, how I look at food now, and that's probably come from years of experience. And I mean, I've gone through a phase of being vegetarian, being vegan, but through my studies and education and listening to my own body, I realized that wasn't the right choice for me.
Yeah.
And so over time, I've adapted and I've changed things up. And now I eat foods that I know are going to nourish me. That's always at the heart of what I do.
Yeah.
So yeah, we eat a lot of just whole foods, really. You know, lots of I think my favorite's probably just a roast chicken dinner. You know, roast chicken with lots of herbs and lots of veggies and you know, lots of fish. We love seafood. That's a massive part of what we eat. Lots of greens, and you know, washing it down with a nice glass of wine because life's about, you know, a bit of fun and enjoyment. And so yeah, and I think that's really important. You know, you want, I think if you want to maintain long-term changes, it's got to be practical as well. And so a
Yeah.
lot of what we do is quick and easy stuff, uncomplicated, but just using quality ingredients. I think that's, you know, probably the gist of what we do. So yeah, so I managed to, you know, cook a few meals a day. I'm very fortunate that I can do that. But yeah, you know, we're having Greek yogurts and nuts and seeds and things like that when we don't have time. So, you know, I think it's just about being flexible, but bringing in good quality stuff as much as you can.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's fantastic. And also, you mentioned dogs. We have a dog as well, Cockapoo, and
Oh,
yes, they
beautiful.
are crazy.
They are crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
so much energy. But it is also, because I watch her health as well. Like her
Mhm.
weight has been consistent and what she eats, and
Mhm.
from the baby. And as you know, cock spaniels have got very sensitive stomach, so you have to
Mhm.
watch, especially first couple of years. And it's not just only our health, but if we have pets and animals around us and people who work with them, or they have like horses or dogs maybe as part of your life, what can you feed them and what kind of food is, like you mentioned, yes, fresh, non-complicated, simple food is my idea of food. I'm a born vegetarian, but I've slowly now moved to, my kids eat now, chicken and fish, and uh, it's just mainly my son who is very keen. I think also because he was the one who was asking that I want my nutrition to be right, and I said, It's totally up to you. The only condition is you have to have everything organic, so
Yeah.
especially in the fish, um, but yeah, and I've also made slight change, being 50 plus, to looking into now gearing for how the whole menopause transition will
Mm.
happen. From being born vegetarian, I had never even boiled an egg before,
Wow,
to
amazing.
now eating some eggs. I've
Mm.
started eating that just purely from nutritional perspective, and that also is something we need to look at, because I know a lot of people, for example, in India are vegetarian,
Mhm.
and they have got certain health conditions then, because vegetarianism being part of spiritual being
Mhm.
or religious, that the choice that they do or make.
Mhm.
So it is about knowing, and how, like, I am not eating eggs all the time, but I am eating enough just as part of my protein intake and the fat intake that I want to have. So it
Mhm.
is good to, yeah, it's good to be flexible, as well as knowing where you are in your life and then adapting it accordingly. And
Yeah.
like you mentioned, having fresh. And I actually, when I was pregnant, because I had twins and I couldn't eat much, I was on bed rest for many months. Um, and I used to say they are almost fruit babies because I used to eat so much fruit in a day,
Yeah.
avocados and
Mm.
figs and fresh fruit. And they love fruit. Luckily, they have so much fruit in a day. Like I normally keep, like this much portion of fruit, this has to be eaten today. So it doesn't matter how and when you eat it through the day, just keep munching on it. But
Mhm.
this is what we see ourselves, because it's no good telling somebody else to make those choices if we don't know how to make that choice in our lives. It's crucial for
Yeah.
practitioners to understand and adapt what we are preaching.
Yeah, exactly. And it was a tough decision to make to go back to eating meat and fish because I was doing it for ethical reasons, for because of animal rights, etc. But I was myself just in such I wasn't a functioning human being, and I thought, well, what good am I to the animal kingdom if I myself am not healthy and happy?
Yeah,
So, but then you make a choice. You make a choice to eat grass fed. You make a choice
yeah,
to know where your meat's coming from, and you can. And I think for anyone that has got food, that's making food choices for whatever reason, whether it's ethical or religious, it doesn't matter. If you work with a practitioner, they can understand where the blind spots might be in that way of eating and fill the gaps, help you fill the gaps, make sure you're still getting all the right nutrients that you need to feel good and live well. And yeah, you're right. I think there needs to maybe be, find where your flexibility lies, find where your boundary is, and then work with someone who can get you feeling the best as possible within that limit. I think is so important, and that's available to everyone, to do it
yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
that
No,
way.
that's wonderful. And to know that you are healthy as well.
And you, by the sounds of it, and your kids, they also sound like they're doing all the right things.
They are super healthy, and including myself.
Right, good.
um, but this is how we can then, it's like we are our own advertisement in a way,
Mhm.
and also to see the impact, because I used to taste every herb, any kind of method that I, over the years, tried everything, and how this will impact a patient, how this will impact me, and to taste it and to experiment with it. And that's
Mhm.
what we need to do so that we can talk from our experience and how it is.
Yeah.
But it's great to know. And I do have a lot of other wonderful nutritional friends as well, who are doing functional nutrition, functional. That's what it's called. Yes, functional nutrition.
Okay. Yeah, that's great.
So they're also working that way, and it's great to see that.
Mm,
And we can also use natural medicine with it. We can use herbal medicine with it.
definitely.
um, Ayurvedic medicine, as you already mentioned,
Mm,
herbs and stuff that can help so much,
absolutely.
um, for people to have health. So that's wonderful, Lauren. Great discussion, and good
Oh,
to know
so
how
good.
your clinic works.
Thank
Uh,
you. Yeah, it's been so lovely to chat with you. Thank you for the opportunity. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's been great to cover so many different topics. Yeah, so thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. We're going to continue doing this for everybody who's listening as well, or listening to replay and happen to, I'm also open to, if any patient wants to come and talk about their journey, whatever that journey has been, whether they have taken any kind of natural medicine, or any kind of even nutritional changes that they have made, and they have seen the changes, because we want to talk about those stories. We want to talk about, highlight that, how it is going to impact in day-to-day life. There's
Yes.
no point in giving any idealistic advice which then doesn't work for a patient.
Mhm.
So we are open to that as well. If any of your patients want to come and talk,
Thank you.
we can do that. But thank you for giving your time and being here. And thank you for everyone for watching as well. And bye for today. And we can connect again. Thank you, Lauren.
Yeah, you're so welcome. Lovely to see you. All the best. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye. Bye.